Hi, this is Pamela with Pamela's Portrayals, and today we're going to do just a very simple, quick painting of some yellow flowers, and I can't remember the name of them. They're kind of like little button flowers or something, little round balls, but they're cute. And what I did is I went ahead and painted the background gray. I used some gray and white, these two colors. Gray by itself is pretty see-through, so I added some white to it to make it more opaque. And then I went and just drew a little tiny vase. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Just to kind of give myself some perspective on where I was going to put my flowers. I'm going to be using a new tool today that I haven't used before in a class, and that's these little sponges. These are little sponges that are on a little wooden stick, and I like these. That's also, I'm wearing these gloves today because I'll be squeezing the water out of that, and I don't want to get it all in my fingernails. So I just used a regular pencil to draw this on with. I've got some colors on my plate. As you can see, I've already used the white and the gray. I'm going to be using the yellow ochre and the yellow, and then a couple of raw siennas and burnt siennas for the stems. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I think I'm going to start with my stems, looking for placement. So I'm going to probably have maybe some shorter ones, longer ones, here. You can draw these out if you want. Like some people, what they might do is get you just a little piece of paper, and it can be even computer paper, and just draw out a quick sketch so you can see where you want to place your the big yellow balls on the paper, and then that way you can just transfer that to the sketch. I did not do that, but that is probably a really good idea, particularly if you're a beginner. Or you have problems visualizing something in your head. So for right now, I think, well, I was going to start on the stems, but you know what I think? I think I'm going to start on the actual vase. So we're going to use, I'm going to put white. I want to have my light source coming here from the left. So I'm going to just go ahead and put, now because I have this gray on the bottom, that is kind of like, it's kind of similar to like a toned paper or a toned canvas. So your white is going to look a little bit different. You're going to have that gray undertone. A lot of people do an underpainting or put a color on the bottom simply when you're working in paint. A lot of people, instead of starting, you go from light to dark. And so some people, when you're on a white canvas, you're just starting from light. So all your value and your tones and everything are going to be based on that. If you start with like a gray, that's kind of a mid-tone, and then you can go lighter or darker on that. And some people, they like to do that instead of starting on the white canvas. Now you can do it however you want. The reason I put the gray on the background was because I wanted, I didn't want to have to paint around my flowers. But the other reason is a good reason to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to get over here. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and just paint all of this in with the white. And this is just solid white. But as you can tell, you can kind of see the gray through it. My vase is not perfect, and I didn't want it to be perfect. I'm going to put some white highlights here. Then I'm going to come back with some of the gray. I'm going to put some different shades of gray over here for a shadow. So it's just going to kind of be I'm going to still have some white over on this side because I don't want my grays to blend in together. And I may come back and do a little bit more with that little vase. Okay, so inside this area right here, I'm going to go a little darker gray. I'm going to put it darker than the background color that I have. Again, you want to be able to differentiate it from the background. And I kind of got outside the line there a little bit. So I'm going to clean my brush off, and I'm going to come back and just what I call walk that back. I'm just going to take that paint off. A little too far, so I'm going to come back and just add a little bit of lighter gray right there. And let's see. I think I might round this side up a little bit more, just so it's a little bit more like the other side. Okay, now we're going to look, I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of shadow underneath here. I'm going to have some shadow coming out. I don't want this really hard edge, so I'm going to get some of the color that I used in the background, and I'm just going to come up next to this and just kind of blend that in a little bit. That way we don't have that really hard edge. I need a little bit more of that color. Soften that up there. Okay, and this is a decorative painting. This is not a fine art painting, it's just a decorative painting. And I think while I'm waiting for this to dry, originally I was going to put my stems in, but I want that to dry before I start mixing things with it. So I think I'll go ahead and I'm going to just, this is my water, and I'm just going to kind of put that in there a little bit just to soak up some water. I don't want too much though. So if I squeeze it, it doesn't, drip out, so I know I don't have too much. And I'm going to start, and I'm just going to put this in. I'm going to kind of tap it around so it's not all over the whole bottom. I've just got some areas there. But I'm going to go and put this in different spots. So let's put one there. And then, let's see, put one up here. And I'm twisting that. Let's put one here. I might need to get a little bit more paint. I've got a little, maybe too much water on here. If you get too much paint on here, you can just kind of tap it off on your plate. Put one there. Maybe one out here. One up here. Maybe one right here. I don't know if I want to leave a little bit of a space here. Maybe one right here. And There's one. Let's see, am I happy with that? I might put one right here. So I'm going to have it a little heavier on one side than the other, I think. I don't know, I'm really wanting to put something here. I don't really know if I need it. Let's see. Trying to visualize what that would look like. That's why sometimes it's really better just to draw this out on a piece of paper, just so you can see the placement and how it's going to work. But I'm thinking, you know what, we'll just try this. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to squeeze my sponge in there until it's all clean. And then I'm going to come back and I'm just going to dry it right like that. All right, now I think, and I'm using a small angle brush to do this with. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this here I've got maybe a little bit too wide. So I'm going to come back with some white and I'm just going to kind of make that a little bit smaller. And that will be like a highlight anyway. I didn't really have to do this. I just felt like maybe it was a little too big. The nice thing about acrylic is you can go back so many times and just correct something that you don't like. Put this down here. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a little bit and come back to my flowers. Now I put this darker color on first just to give us some depth. And I'm going to get, this is a dry sponge again, it's clean. And I'm going to kind of just come over and tap on some of this yellow. And I've got, like I said, I haven't, now you can, if you wanted like solid yellow flowers, you could just put the whole thing in there. But I'm not really wanting that. I want some different colors in there. So now I'm going to come back on top of those other ones. And I'm going to just add some of this brighter yellow. And when you pull that sponge up, it's going to leave some texture on your flower or whatever it is you're using it for. Once again, I'm going to take it in the water, and I'm not sticking all the wood down in it. I'm just sticking the little, this little sponge part, and just kind of squeezing it. I don't think I can show you how. I'm just squeezing it in the water like that. So that just kind of gets all of the paint out, and then squeeze it once again. Take it out and dry it off. Just squeeze it again on a paper towel to dry that off good. Okay, now I've got these on here, and we're going to think about now putting in the stems. Right now we're going to go ahead and put in some of the darker brown stem colors. And I'm going to start off with my darker color. Now, if you don't want to put two tones in your flowers or your stems, you certainly don't have to. You can just go with one of the colors that, like I'm using. You could even use a brown. I'm using kind of this reddish brown. And I'm just going to attach that there. We're just going to put that right in there like that. And then we're going to come down like that. I don't know if you can see how I'm using this angle brush. I've got the long point at the top where my finger is, and then I'm just taking it and pulling it this way. If you're using the angle brush where the long tip is on the bottom, here you're not going to get the same look. So I'm just going to make this a little bit darker, pull it back down again. I'm going right through that little flower. And let's see, put this one like this. Okay, so this is a good lesson here again. I kind of messed up a little bit on this one. So what I'm going to do is I've cleaned off my brush. I've got a clean brush, and I'm going to come over and I'm just going to walk back this part that's too thick. Clean my brush again, dry it off. Come back again. Now to do this, you have to make sure that that bottom coat that you've put on is very dry. And it's almost like erasing. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I have the shape that I want. I'm sure there is a correct name for that. I call it walking it back because I'm walking the color back to where I want it. Okay. Now I'm going to let this dry And then I'm going to come back and put a couple more coats on it, and we're almost done. All right, I'm going to come back now with a little bit lighter color, and I got a little water on my brush, and I've used this one brush basically for this entire painting except the background. When I mixed the gray and white, I did use this brush, this big flat brush, to put all of that on. But since I've actually started painting, I've only used this little round brush. Okay, this is a little bit lighter color. So I'm going to come, and it's, you know, I'm doing this not on an easel, I'm doing it flat on a table. For some people, that works better for them when they're doing a small painting. It feels like you have more control. And so I'm just going to come back and just kind of solidify these lines, just kind of paint them in. I want to leave some of the reddish brown, but I'm also going to come back over it with this raw sienna color. Again, just getting a little depth to my stems. Now, doing these lines can be a little nerve-wracking because you're afraid you're going to mess up. As long as your paint is wet, you can always come back and walk it back if you get outside of the line that you wanted. And this does not have to be perfect. This is just a very simple, quick painting that you can do for fun. You can turn your canvas if that helps you. Sometimes I steady myself with my little pinky finger, like that. If your paint is going on too thick, make sure to add a little water to your brush so it will flow a little smoother. I know some of you are just being nervous about doing it. You might have really shaky hands, or maybe you just have some shaky hands. That happens. Particularly when we're doing something like this that we feel like, oh, we've got to have such precision. So that's okay. You can fix it if you mess up. One way is like walking it back, but if you've waited too long and it dries, I'm going to show you another way you can fix it. I'm going to clean my brush. I see a couple areas where I want to add a little bit more of the dark color. So I'm going to come back and get that. I just want this darker down here as it goes into the vase. So what I'm going to do now, for example, I've got this brown now on my white, and I'm going to let that dry, and then we will just paint right over that, and it's not going to be a problem. But for my flowers, they didn't turn out as yellow as I wanted them to in spots. So I'm going to do, again, I'm going to come and get my little sponge. I did not add water to it this time. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to make these a little more yellow. A little more brighter yellow, I guess is what I should say. I want them to kind of pop a little bit more. In order to do that, you really need to let the paint dry before you come over it with another coat of paint. Otherwise, all you're going to do is smear it around. I'm going to see that looks a little brighter to me. I'm going to see what it ends up looking like. I might need to add one more coat. But I wanted this to have a little bit of a grainy texture because the actual flowers have a grainy, kind of a grainy texture. They're not smooth. I thought originally about adding a brighter yellow, but we'll see how this looks, how this turns out. I'm still showing some of the darker yellow through. And that was really the yellow that I was wanting. So I like this because it has the lighter yellow, the darker yellow. And I'm looking at it. I think I'm going to come back and just do a little bit, touch up right here where some of the brown went over into the white. Cleaning off my sponge. Can get a little messy. And that's after I clean my hands. Okay, let's get a little bit of white. And let's just come up here where some of that brown bled over. Cover that up. And I think we're going to call this painting done. Again, there is another way. Like I noticed that this little stem is a little bit crooked. I made it a little bit crooked. And there is another way that you can make like straight lines in your painting. And that is if you use a credit card. I did not have a credit card with me, but if you take a broken credit card, what you do is you just take the edge and you dip it, like kind of go down into your paint, and then just pull it here and then just pull that right down. And it works really well. Maybe I'll have another painting where I can do that and show you how that works. But for now, this painting is done. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you'll try this very simple painting. Again, this is a beginner painting. Anyone can do this. I don't care if you've never picked up a paintbrush before. For those of you wondering about these sponges, you can get them. These I think I got at Hobby Lobby. You can also get them at Michael's in the crafting section as well as the art section, and they're not very much money. If you wanted to use a brush and you did not have the round, looking for a piece of paper I can give you guys an example on. Well, maybe I can just do it right on here. So if you're using a brush, like this angle brush, and you're wanting to make the circles, you can get some paint on one side of your brush, and then just go like that, like half a circle there, and then half a circle there. And you can get, you know, a circle like that. You don't have the same texture that you'll have with the sponge, but you can certainly, you know, paint your little circles like that. So again, I hope you guys have a great day and hope to see you again soon. Thank you for watching.